Dr. Elias Voss, the relentless archaeologist and seeker of lost cities. Dr. Elias Voss was not just an archaeologist, he was a man possessed by the mysteries of the past. His name had become synonymous with the search for lost civilizations, whispered in academic circles with a mixture of admiration and skepticism. He had spent decades chasing what many called myth-sunken metropolises, vanished empires, and the forgotten cities that had long since been swallowed by nature's unrelenting grasp. With silver-threaded hair perpetually tousled by the elements, deep-set eyes that burned with an insatiable hunger for discovery, and a frame hardened by years of trekking through some of the most unforgiving landscapes on Earth, Voss was both revered and ridiculed. Some called him a visionary, others dismissed him as a man chasing ghosts, but no one could deny the sheer magnitude of his discoveries, ruins that had rewritten history, artifacts that had altered the timeline of human civilization, and ancient texts that hinted at civilizations far older than historians dared to believe. His obsession began in childhood, when he first stumbled upon an old, dust-covered book in his grandfather's study, a collection of forgotten myths and lost histories. One story stood out among the rest: the legend of a sunken city, older than any known civilization, hidden beneath the waves or buried beneath the shifting sands of time. From that moment, Voss knew his life would be dedicated to proving that history, as written, was incomplete. He spent his youth poring over ancient manuscripts, deciphering dead languages, and traveling to remote dig sites before he was even old enough to hold a degree. His academic brilliance was undeniable, but his refusal to confine himself to established historical narratives often put him at odds with mainstream scholars. Where they saw myths, he saw clues. Where they saw impossibilities, he saw challenges. His expeditions took him to the farthest reaches of the world. He had braved the suffocating heat of the Sahara in search of the legendary city of Zerzura, navigating shifting dunes that swallow entire caravans whole. He had ventured deep into the uncharted jungles of the Amazon, following the remnants of a lost civilization that predated the Incas, where he uncovered evidence of massive stone structures overtaken by the relentless grip of the rainforest. In the mountains of Tibet, he had risked his life in the search for a hidden valley rumored to be home to an ancient kingdom untouched by time, only to find cryptic inscriptions carved into the cliffs, an unknown script that defied translation. He had even plunged into the abyssal depths of the Mediterranean, diving among shipwrecks and long-forgotten ruins in his pursuit of the fabled city known as the Sunken Throne. But for all his triumphs, he had suffered his fair share of failures. There were times when entire expeditions ended in disaster, cave-ins, sudden floods, and betrayals by those who sought to exploit his findings for profit. More than once, he had narrowly escaped death at the hands of artifact smugglers, treasure hunters, and those who preferred that some truths remain buried. His body bore the marks of these encounters: scars from a collapsing temple in Guatemala, a bullet wound from an ambush in the Arabian desert, and a deep gash along his forearm from an underwater dive gone wrong. Each scar was a story, a reminder of the cost of seeking the truth. Yet despite the hardships, the ridicule from his peers, and the ever-present danger, he pressed on. He had become obsessed with a singular goal: to search for what he believed to be the first great civilization, a lost metropolis that predated Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and Egypt. It was a city known only in fragments of ancient texts, spoken of in hushed tones by indigenous tribes, hinted at in symbols carved onto stones that should not exist. If he could find it, he would shatter everything humanity thought it knew about its own origins. He would prove that the past was far older, far stranger, and far more advanced than anyone dared to imagine. And so, as he stood at the edge of yet another unknown, his boots sinking into the wet soil of an unmapped jungle, his fingers tracing the edges of forgotten inscription, he knew that this journey, this mystery, would be his most perilous yet. The ruins before him held secrets that had been lost for millennia, and if he was right, if this was the final clue that would lead him to the greatest discovery in human history, then nothing, not the dangers of the wild, not the forces that sought to silence him,